been good to hear some real experiences from major telecom operators. It's not about shuffling around it or say, well, we really need it or whatever. It's real experience, and that's what we need. And we're in the stage where that starts to make sense and become realistic about things. I'm here to present a global overview of, in a way, preparedness that has to do with IP version 6. How far are we prepared? It's based on work done with the NRO, the RARs of this world, like RIPE and others, that have been sending out this survey, almost similar survey, hardly changed, over the last 5 years now. The last 3 years it's been global, and that gives some good comparison, because what is representative? I'm not suggesting this is, because the respondents to this survey are basically organizations that are interested in the subject. They're in the RAR networks, so I think if you look to ISPs overall, this is the top in terms of interested parties. Nevertheless, by looking for several years in a row, you can see how change occurs. So I'd like you to focus on how the change happens rather than the absolutes in this. The global survey was made possible by the European Commission a couple of years ago, and when I was involved in the monitoring project with Arjen, who will speak later as well from TNO. And it was based on work done earlier in Aaron, and I'm grateful for the preparatory work. We evolved it over time to what some of you may know now. So, who of you have been responding to this survey? Ed? Well, I don't know all respondents by name, but we happen to be at the same panel on IP version 6 in the last ICANN meeting hosted in Toronto, and Ed is from Canada. Actually, if you look around in the world of ISPs and RARs, it's broadly participated, and it's been broadly supported. So one of the things I want to pick up here is, yes, European research is important, and do connect to what's happening out there globally. And if you talk about IP version 6 deployment, these organizations, IETF is mentioned several times, but also the RARs are fairly important. So we've been continuing to repeat this survey because the last question of the survey is always like, do you think it makes sense to do it another year? And the answer was always more than 90% says yes, please. Now, things have changed over the years, because in the beginning, in 2009, it was really about, well, we try to think about implementing IP version 6. And if you look to these tables, you see to 10, to 11, to 12. From the left is we're doing it in the green, and in the red is we're not even thinking about it. Now you can see a slight change towards we're not even thinking about it. I can assure you, if you look to 2009 and earlier, that was much bigger. What we see now is that preparedness over the last 3 years have enormously grown. Many ISPs feel they're now prepared for implementing IP version 6, or will be doing so shortly. For the first time, we also see that IP version 6 connectivity usage is taking up. Not so much in the baseline of how many of the traffic is there, but 60% in 2010 of ISPs of respondents was not confronted with IP version 6 connectivity issues. Today it's only 35%. That is a trend that is beginning, that shows that even if it's a small percentage of your customers, if they don't get it, they'll notice. And we all know that media are much more eager to report about those cases where things don't work than for cases where they work. So, do you have an IP version 6 presence? Again, The percentage of use is still low, but we can see that only 23% of the respondents still doesn't have any presence. It's growing, it's becoming real. And is the traffic insignificant? Well, here we start talking a little bit about how much do we use. We do see that already now 28 to 30%, it's beginning to be non-negligible. How do you say that?
Negligible.
Negligible, thank you.
I'm glad they went through it.
Well, they say French is close to English, so maybe that helps the pronunciation. Now, if you look to problems that came over the years, so I'm not going to take you to all the responses of the survey. You can find all the responses back on the NRO site, so www.nro.net, and I think they were published on 27 September, so you can find them back in the news there. But this is always useful to look at. What are the biggest problems? Lack of user demands? It's still a big problem. We've even heard here the European Commission this morning, per opening said, well, they fought hard, this unit that is responsible for sponsoring this project, to get the Commission to start deploying a little bit of IPv6 in its systems, to get a website up to do that, to make it available on Wi-Fi zone. With the clear argument, if we want to promote it, we need to show that we do it ourselves as well. And we all know this world, particularly not from the academic, but from the technical world, they don't take you seriously if you don't do it, you know. And they've done it. But now the challenge is for the IPv6 Wi-Fi zone, if the usage stays so low, people who are here just taking care of things and don't care about politics or what makes sense towards the future, think, well, this is a big investment, is it worthwhile? If this is the fault in the Commission, I can assure you this is the same for managers in the more technical operations as well. Those who were early with having IPv6 ready and have been waiting for the surge to come for a while now, they look back at their investment and say, should we have been that early? Well, I think what they will find is in the future that when the surge happens, and they will find they have much more experience, have much more tuning, and they will suffer less from when it really happens. So technical problems, again, because people come in the field, because new challenges come, it didn't really reduce over time. It is still about 30%. The only thing that really changed is experience. And this is in line with the other things, it is logical. We do start running into these issues now. So we now say we have technical problems, we know because we experienced it, not because we believe it is. And again, just to put things in perspective, it looks nice and high and green, but it's only 0.5%, you know, of traffic at M6. So this is still true. And again, you see that the line is really picking up. You see that ISPs are really more and more confronted with IPv6, and that less of it, that more and more of it becomes non-negligible. So I think the main conclusion is that we're now really shifting from preparedness to real usage, and that's the beginning of that right now. So again, we couldn't do this survey without all respondents, and we'll do it again in May this year. Within this project, we'll support it with the European Commission. Frank and Fabrice will be helping to set it up. And it will be supported by NRO again, so we'll have global reach again with this. So I think that's what I wanted to say.